Hello everyone, GoldenNova here, and I have returned from the far-off land of North Carolina, returning to all of you to show off and let you know what happened at YCS Charlotte. This is going to be a bit of an unscripted thing, which I am very, very comfortable with doing. And I'm just going to show off the deck that I played that weekend. I'll tell you my record, so maybe you can learn from my mistakes. And then I'll handle some Q&A at the end, in case anyone has any questions for, how things went, how I felt, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. I don't think I have much more of a preamble. Let's go ahead and start with, I know the colloquial name for this deck is Adventure Plunder Patrol, but we, as a community, don't have a lot of really good names for things, so I am positing that because Adventure is like an isekai, you know, the brave token is you, the player, I am going to posit that Adventure Plunder Patrol should now be called Hanging Out with the Pirate Crew in the Shipyard. It's definitely going to catch on because it's short, it's quippy, it's to the point. I'm also not going to be spending a lot of time talking about what the individual cards do, because you probably know, if you're looking at YCS recaps, you probably know what all the cards do. Second, if you don't know, I have videos that talk about both the archetypes in this deck, so they'll be linked. Have fun with that. So, the Plunder Patrol usual core: 3 Whitebeards, 3 Redbeards, 3 Bluebeards, 3 Golden Hair, and 3 Black Eyes. Each of these are incredibly strong cards. I really wish Redbeard did more, but having 3 of them is important for having names to discard off of your ships. And most of the time I sided out the 3rd copy just to make room for other hand traps. Every other card in here was a bop. Bluebeard helps go into your non-Plunder Patrol Xyz and Synchro monsters if you have the freedom to do so, if you haven't locked yourself out. Golden Hair is a not one card, you need to discard, what is that, the 1.5 card combo that gets you into Blackbeard. Whitebeard is incredible no matter where it is, and Black Eyes was an incredible addition to the deck that makes sure you have discard fodder for your stuff and also helps get you into your plays when you're low on advantage. Absolutely loved every single one of these cards, even if the 3rd Redbeard was like, cool, I'm playing a lot of names for the game 1, and then I have a good flex slot for my other cards. We are running triple Shipyard and the 4th Shipyard in Terraforming. Basically just a hand fixer here. You get to double dip on Aqua Enchantress. If you draw that and this, you can pitch it, get the free card, and then banish Aqua Enchantress out of your grave for the search. And then that just gets you into all the good plunder stuff that I was talking about just now. Another flex slot was our last plunder card, Booty. This came up very infrequently. I think I only resolved it once, though it was searchable in like the VW matchup I had to help make sure that attributes were on board for it. But this was also like, there was some powerful one-ups in the sides. This usually came out because people were playing plenty of attributes to let me go into my extra deck ships anyway. Adventure Engine, the one that everyone's tired of. Triple Aqua Enchantress, the 1 Fateful Adventure, the triple Aramesir, the 1 Griffin, the 1 Dracoback. A lot of just really fun random stuff you do here. Obviously, the Omni Negate is crazy to make sure that your plays are insulated. The fact that you can pitch Aqua Enchantress off of the field spell. The fact that Fateful Adventure keeps your monsters equipped with cards safe from battle once per turn, and since all of your ships can end up being equipped with plunders, you can end up like your opponent will run into a monster thinking that they can go into your life points and be all like, nah, sorry fam, once per turn free Noble Arms of Destiny, and they're all like, dang, really? And I'm like, yes, really, and it's great, I love it. Other cards, Foolish Burial. The joke here is that this is the 4th copy of Aqua Enchantress, and most of the time it is, and I like that. But it also helps get Golden Hair into the grave in case we need the extra name. It also gets Whitebeard in the grave if we have Black Eyes in hand, so that we can recur that and start getting that into rotation. So I like the flexibility of Foolish Burial here. Hand traps included triple Ash Blossom. Was never a matchup where this was dead. Double Ghost Ogre. It's funny because I sided out Ghost Ogre a lot, but even in the times where it was game 1 and I drew this still had great great synergy. Like, we were Ghost Ogring Halks to keep people off the Auroradon combo, and I digged that. And the double Nibiru would have run 3, but I didn't have a third one, and someone noted, like, hey, you should have Called By in the deck, and I'm like, sweet, I can just put the Called By in here, and then I moved the Called By to the side deck, and then put some other stuff in here. It was really funny. From what I saw of other better decks at the event, this isn't the optimal hand trap lineup, but we be learning. We're also running triple Forbidden Droplets. These empty card sleeves are empty because Novajenk is currently holding on to 2 of them for his regionals coming up. So that's why they're not here right now, but they're with us in spirit. There's a lot of discourse about droplets, but we need some more interruptions / way to break boards. So Forbidden Droplets was crazy in this regard, especially because sending Plunders with it makes Forbidden Droplets Interruption a board breaker and a combo enabler. It's the triple threat. So that's why we had to main deck Droplets. Even in matchups where our opponent was making huge boards, even being able to just negate a single card was amazing. Let's do the side deck first here real quick. We've got the triple Cosmic Cyclone. Did not want to get caught behind some kind of big back row or Mystic Mine without an answer. Cosmic Cyclone was that answer. It was also, if we ran into striker players, we could banish the Engage so they couldn't recycle that forever. Really fun. Triple Evenly Matched to deal with gigantic boards. Even with the help from Black Eyes and the Adventure Engine, we need to make sure our hand advantage is strong to be able to use our ship effects. So board equalizers are at a premium, and Evenly Matched helped out when it showed up, so I was very glad to have run it. The triple Lancia concession to opposing adventure engines. It also stops decks that have a lot of grave effects, namely Dragon Link that banishes a ton of cards to get off the ground. And it was also the hand trap that I wanted my opponent to have the most. Not that that matters here, but we'll get into why that is in a bit. We have double Ghost Bell. I wanted to keep this in the main, but there was too many there was too many other cards that I really wanted to play in main, namely the Forbidden Droplets. But Ghost Bell is really good in a lot of different matchups. Namely, it stops DPE because they go, okay, cool, effect activate from grave. I don't think so. There's the double DD Crow, which filled a similar purpose, but also just got rid of generic cards in grave so our opponent couldn't recur them. The one of Harpy's Feather Duster for big back row decks, and the one Called By. Also, if we identified our opponent was on a big graveyard deck. Like I said, those 2 one-ofs, Called By and Redbeard, Called By and Harpy's Feather could be swapped out with one of the Redbeards without feeling too bad. Alright, on to the extra. Usual Plunder shenanigans. Triple Blackbeard, the heart and soul of the deck. Double Liss. Double Bran. Double Mowerk. I love this ship lineup. 2 of each was great. I never missed it. I went into triple Blackbeard a couple of times, so I'm glad we ran the 3 of. These other ships were great. Mowerk I expected to be a better DPE out than it was. The idea was that if they went DPE, I could then play the Mowerk to banish it, and then they'd still get the destruction, but they wouldn't be able to keep recurring the DPE. But the problem was that they would hold the DPE for the Mowerk, and then they knew they could keep doing their plays because the second they put anything on board that I could Mowerk, they could just save it with DPE. So that kind of sucked, but as a general card, Mowerk was outstanding, Bran was outstanding, Liss put in the most work out of all of these ships. I was so happy with being able to negate monster effects and searching cards. And Blackbeard says draw a card. I don't know what else to say about that. It's outstanding. Cards have been trying to draw you cards since the beginning of time, and they keep getting banned. And Blackbeard's just like, I don't care. I'll plunder stuff. Non-plunders. We have the one Adamantipator Risen Dragite. It negates spells and traps because all of our Plunder main deck monsters are water. It can bounce cards because we main deck 2 Nibirus. I never summoned it, but it was good to have it just in case. The White Aura Whale, exact same thing, didn't summon it, but it is a Lightning Storm for monsters. It's a double attacker, it does piercing, it's 28. There might have been some matchups where it'd been better to go into the White Aura Whale, but I wasn't thinking about it. I also think that I had a lot of Plunder setups where I ended up having 2 non-tuners, so I didn't have a chance to go into White Aura Whale, but in the situations where you can summon it with, like, White Aura, not White Aura, White Beard or Blue Beard and chain block the White Aura Whale, this is an absolutely amazing way to crack a board wide open. The Bahamut Shark, same idea as these two, except you can do it no matter what your tuner and non-tuner setup is. And then this gets you into Totally Awesome for an extra negate. But yeah, one of the issues that I went to going into this event is that I had a couple of weeks to prepare. I didn't get a broad matchup, a broad chance to test matchups and learn what to do with certain hands, so I didn't really learn how to effectively utilize these 4 cards. With training, I'm sure that would get better, but I would not cut these because these are all pretty amazing options. However, I went into Almirage basically every round. This plus Golden Hair and the discard is the 1-card Blackbeard combo. This is essential. And then the 1 of Transverser Geonator to deal with DPEs that are in the incorrect zone. And I will recount you the one time I was actually able to use Transverser Geonator. Geonator Transverser, I always get that messed up, in a bit. Okay, so that's the deck. How did I do? Well, the short and sweet answer is that I got to round 7 before I got my 4th loss, so I ended up technically 3-4. So that sucks. I wouldn't advertise this as, you should copy me, because my deck is the road to success, but hopefully you can enjoy some of the stories and learn from my mistakes. Round 1, I immediately lose in the tournament against Virtual World. I don't know what to tell you. I have to work a lot harder to get my ships in this environment when my opponent runs nothing but winds and earths. Even the non-Virtual World stuff you go into in that deck ends up being wind and earth. I despise that. Things like Crystal Wing, things like Stardust Assault Warrior, Barone. Absolutely losing my entire mind here. Yeah, Shen basically kept us out of the game 1 because we need to send things to the grave to make our stuff work. So it was hard to enable our game plan through that. And then game 2, oh no, I got through game 2, and then game 3, my opponent, I go first, and my opponent ended up landing Phantasme on board. And that was a hand trap that I underestimated because I hadn't seen it in a long time. I let it resolve when I could have Griffin Ridered it. And in retrospect, that was a terrible idea to let that stick on the board because I was under the impression Phantasme only protected itself. So when I went to Mowork a Lulu, they, a normal summon Lulu, they were like, ha, pitch Phantasme, and I immediately lose the game from there because I lose the Mowork, they start comboing off. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the cookie crumbles on that one. So basically, if you're playing Plunder and your opponent Phantasmes your Almirage, don't disrespect that. Get rid of that immediately. Don't let that ruin your day. That was also the beginning of people saying that they top-decked things to beat me, because they're, like, after the game, they were like, oh man, what I top-decked off Phantasme was exactly what I needed to get past your board, and oof. Oh boy. So round 2 was against Despia Branded. Now, this deck is really fun to watch in action, all the kind of fusion stuff going on. And this was the game where I got to pull off the Geonator combo. He did, I think he just played Red Eyes Fusion, and he just hard made Dragoon. And it's like, ah, dang, that sucks. I baited it out. I think I used the field spell to bait out the Dragoon, and then it was... I forget if I was able to go Whitebeard, Bluebeard into Geonator, and then use the Whitebeard to summon something out, or if I had... No, I had Nibiru'd previously in the turn. Yeah, and then because I Nibiru'd, their last-ditch effort was to go into Verte to do the whole Dragoon lineup. They ended up super polying next turn to take the Dragoon. I wasn't able to kill them that turn, because instead of... I think I made the incorrect play of, like, using Draco back to put the Nibiru back in my hand to keep using, when I should have just punted the Nibiru with the Dragoon effect and just won from there. But instead they like, I don't think they super polyed the Dragoon away. I believe they Godarla'd it before I could make use of it, and then they comboed off, and then they used super poly to get rid of a Mowork or something. I'm very good at remembering matchup knowledge. But we were able to work through that. Game 2, I got buried under hand traps. And Game 3 was when the upside of playing Adventure, or the unwritten upside of playing Adventure in Plunder Patrol came through. Because my opponent immediately shotguns the Lancia to stop me from doing Enchantress, which, to my understanding, is the correct move. Once they activate the Enchantress, they can just do the whole thing without interruption. But because they had Lancia in the graveyard on my first turn, I was able to just go into List starting out, and then immediately just stop all of their monster effects from going. It was Blackbeard into List, draw the card, negate on their turn, get the search, and then use List, summon the Blackbeard, summon a second List on their turn to just get a big monster on board, and then it just spiraled out of control. It was absolutely wild. Game 3 was against the Sword Soul Tenyi pile. I believe Based is the name for it. I don't remember a lot. All I remember was from the tweet that I made was that they had, like, asked me questions about, like, where they needed to have monsters for me to most effectively use Blackbeard, and they impermed the Blackbeard, and I'm like, I don't want to negate just an imperm. Maybe they'll do something more impactful later on that I can use the Griffin Rider on. But as it turns out, nothing that they did was susceptible to the Griffin Rider, at least as effectively as perhaps one of the ships would have been. So if your opponent is desperate enough to stop a Blackbeard with Imperm, keep it safe if you can. Round 4 was against Drytron Megalith. Now this was a big combo versus combo-y mid-range kind of game. Long strings of summons, Novas into Aldibas, into Zephyra, Thubins. I know it's not a Zephyra. There's so many wacky names in there. But the point is that every Drytron is a light, and you can list all the Drytrons, especially the ones in hand, which was fantastic. I believe I was able to, like, hold on to... If I remember correctly, they did a Drytron in Graveyard pitching a... Yeah, Drytron in Grave pitching a Ben 10, that's the one. And I'm like, they're going to do whatever they want, no matter what at this point. I'm going to let them resolve all their Grave Drytrons and wait for them to activate one in hand, because you don't get the search off of list unless you destroy the card you negate. And I didn't want to just pitch a card for no value. But we waited long enough to get that happening, and it still stopped their chain. I believe there was also a point where our opponent had searched Ben 10 with something. No, they hadn't even searched the Ben 10. We had just, they had put a Drytron on board with something like Nova, and I'm like, if they tribute a Ben 10 and get this whole thing going, I'm not going to be able to stop them, so we preemptively Mowork them before they have the chance to activate it. And it turns out that their entire rest of their hand was bricked, if not for the fact that they couldn't tribute that Ben 10, so that was a really cool play I was happy with. Round 5, we went against Cyberse Eldritch, and this is a matchup where I won because I had outs to Verte a lot. They would normally go through the Cyberse Gadget line or the Dotscaper line into the Devotee and the other Link one, but in one game we went first, and we used Mowork on it. It was either Mowork or Liss, I think, that got that stopped, so they couldn't extend past that. And then the game after that, we had, like, Nibiru to tribute away a Verte that they had summoned to make the most of another interruption that I had used. And from that point, we were able to use stuff like Brand to start, like, banishing back row so that they couldn't get value out of the trap cards. We were basically in the driver's seat the entire time. My opponent was really, really good. I hesitate to think how the game might have gone if I did not have the correct answers to that. Round 6 was against Dragon Link, and that was the one that put me into X3, which not arguably, that would be the one that kind of took me out of contention, because, like, 10 X3s got in, and all of my losses were at the beginning, so it's not like my tiebreakers would have been exceedingly good. The games were really fun. The issue that I had against Dragon Link is that I drew some level of interruptions both games, but Dragon Link just had so many extenders, and I'm not sure if I, like, played it correctly or not, if I'd used the hand traps at the right time. I wish that I had, like, a better photographic memory of stuff like this, but the point is that I just didn't have the cards necessary to keep up or to stop them, and it really hurt that in all 3 games my opponent managed to get a token collector into rotation. It really sucked, because almost every game I had access to the adventure engine, but they had the token collector, which is why you run the token collector, so it's fine, I guess, whatever. But what molded me was that Game 3 happened at, like, the 8-minute mark. We're both looking at the clock, and we're all like, we gotta turbo this so that neither of us get, like, a draw or anything. We'd hate for that to happen. And they're all like, yeah, that's good. We're both, like, shuffling up. We're going good. He's going first, because I lost Game 1. He lost Game 2, so he's going first. He's doing all kinds of stuff. I have a bunch of hand traps that stop him. I attempt to play through his stuff. He also has a number of things that can stop me. And then we get to a point where he's able to finally get out all of my stuff and deal like 4,500 points of damage. So I'm on the life point deficit. Fine. That's cool. We have like a minute left in the round. I believe I only have one card in hand. It's the top deck Black Eyes. And I'm turboing. Like, okay, Black Eyes, cool. Black Eyes targeting Whitebeard. And that's where the questions start showing up, and this is the frustrating thing, because I'm pretty sure that Plunder Adventure is not rogue. It's not like it was out of left field. It was being talked about. It's won YCSs before. In fact, the list that I brought to the event was largely just Douglas Hadid's list, and yet he'd won back-to-back, or he had gotten really well / won back-to-back YCSs with. So people aren't familiar with this. And so to hear him start questioning what my cards were doing on Game 3 in Round 6 after several tournaments where Adventure been a thing really irked me. It was clearly a stall for time tactic that I did not use against my opponent, because that would have been really lame. And of course, you can't prove anything like that. But when you're at that level of competition, you start doing that. I'm fairly certain you know what you're doing, and that just kind of, that molded me just a little bit. And that was the mindset where I didn't tweet this one, because I was already past X3, but my round after that was Plunder. And in both games, I just immediately lost to Stormwinds. I won the die roll going first. They immediately Dimension Shifter. So I'm like, okay, that sucks. I can't do much. But I can normal summon Redbeard, because it was all, like, I didn't have any adventure stuff. It was all Plunder stuff. So I go, okay, Redbeard, pass, draw phase, turn Redbeard into Liss. And then he goes, okay, Dark Ruler, play out the entire board. Couldn't do anything. Tributes away my monster with the continuous spell. Gets out M-Pen and Stormwinds, and I'm like, well, I believe at this point I top deck a way to get into the adventure engine, but at that point I can't summon an Earth token, so that was a little disheartening. And then Game 2 happens. I go first. I'm able to pull the entire adventure engine thing, and then they go, alright, cool, Dark Ruler, Raigeki. And then all of that also just goes away, because what am I supposed to do in the face of that? I had a Lancia for that turn, but I wasn't able to, like, get into the game after that. Yeah, and then he just went full Plunder combo the turn after that. And then that was the second time where someone was like, oh man, gosh, I was really lucky. That was a great board you had there. It's a good thing I top decked that Raigeki to pair with that Dark Ruler no more. Otherwise, you'd have had a full board after that Lancia turn, and then I would have lost, and boy. I know I caught some flack on Twitter for this, for having this opinion, but that is, like, my pet peeve. And I'm like, and it's not an indictment of my opponent. I'm not, like, saying they're a bad person for having top decked that, or for enjoying it. I just don't want to hear it. And I don't think that's unreasonable. Maybe if I was a bit more mature, perhaps that would, maybe it wouldn't bother me as much. That's true, but I don't think I should be held to the standard of being an absolutely always patient person. I think I'm allowed to be a little annoyed about some things, and that kind of got on my goat. So at that point, I was out of the tournament. But despite some annoyances that happened, largely, the tournament was really fun. I got to hang out with Noah Jenk. I got to hang out with Mana Charge. She's really cool. I got to hang out with another one of Noah's friends who goes to their locals. They're not a YouTube person, but they did better than all of us, so... Oh, and it was with Emancipators, and that really rocked. I got to meet Zara, 5th rate duelist. That was really cool. I got to meet Dyer, which was great. It was really cool to have the two VTubers like interacting with each other. I guess the VTuber and the PNG tuber in about the same genus of personalities. I saw MBT. That was really cool. I got to talk with Danny. Awesome dude. And I think that about covers the event. I learned to protect my game plan a bit better. I learned to respect Phantasme better than I would have. And I'm looking forward to going to another event like this. I don't think I can do it in the near future. All the other locations, Charlotte was already really far away, and all the other places are in other countries. So I don't know if I'm going to be going to a YCS level event in the near future, but hopefully there will be like a regional size thing around where I'm at, in which case I can go again, because the coolest thing was seeing people recognize me and saying how much they liked my stuff, and someone came up and asked me if they wanted to sign their card, and that is like the coolest thing in the entire world. Literally, if any of you see me at an event, please come up and say hi to me. I'm always looking for people to like recognize me because I love being the center of attention. So thank you to everyone who did that. I super appreciate it.